Hello everyone. Welcome back to the Core Note Podcast. I'm your host Adrian Trita, and we got a lot to get into today. Stay tuned. Okay, welcome back everyone. This is about a little over a day since last time, the last game against Bayern when we lost, unfortunately 3-0 away. Yeah, it's been a long time since we all talked about Lazio as a whole. I know it's been almost a month and a half. Yeah, I've been very consistent with these videos, so I want to apologize for that. However, I want to start actually staying more on being more consistent with the videos. However, we do need to discuss a couple different things today because a lot's happened in the Lazio world since the last time we talked, particularly the Bayern game, but something else that happened prior to the Bayern game that's now been kind of revealed today, which we'll get into that in a second. However, I want to talk about the Champions League as a whole, our campaign in Europe, how we played last night. So, yeah, I think Lazio, I honestly think we played well in the first 15 minutes of the game. We came out, we had intensity, it looked like we could, play with Bayern a little bit. But eventually, we just didn't cover our wings well enough, and that's why I think cost us the game. Unfortunately, Zakani didn't really track back as much as he should have. He kind of left the left side really exposed and put Pellegrini in difficulty. Because he realized it didn't happen on the right side the same way it happened on the left side. So there is, I think, a big sentiment of truth to that. Because Maricic and Anderson really covered up that right side very well and shut it down for the majority of the game. But, majority of the attacks came from that left-hand side, or left wing, that is, where Kimmich and Sane would just go 2v1 against Pellegrini. And against Bayern, you just can't do that. You can't leave your man, even your fullback, isolated. You have to stay together whole as a team. And unfortunately, Zakani didn't track back, which I think opened up the first two goals, honestly. I mean, yeah, obviously, the second goal, corner kick, maybe wasn't actually a corner kick, but it was a good goal nonetheless. So then we conceded a third goal, and that was, because basically Kane just tapped it in when the ball was kind of set. Kane kind of came to him and just essentially scored. Which should have been a sitter, but then again, that's what a good striker does. He finds or he follows up his shots very well, and he scores, and that's why he scored 2 goals against us yesterday. So we lost 3-0, but, on aggregate, we lost 3-1 compared to the last time, which I think, 7-1 or something like that, 6-1 on aggregate last time we played against them, or 6-2. So it's an improvement compared to the last time we played against them 3 years ago. You could say Bayern maybe wasn't in the best form, or they weren't playing that well this year, but it's growing process. Considering ourselves, we weren't that in the best form either, because we've been struggling in the league. Get into reasons as to why that is. Obviously it's disappointing. We got knocked out of the Champions League. However, to be completely honest with all of you, we should be happy with the team that we got to beat Bayern Munich. They gave us a great game. We won at home 1-0 against them. Though, obviously, you always want more as a fan. But, we need to look forward now. We know we can play against these teams, but a lot of things need to be addressed. So, matter of fact, we need to discuss about the upcoming game against Udinese, what happened against Milan a couple of days ago, especially with the referees. A lot's happened. A lot's happened since the last time we've talked, so I'll just get into it, man. I mean, there's so much to cover, but yeah. Let's just start off with the Udinese game. Yeah, it's going to be important for us to win that match because right now I've looked at the schedule going ahead, and this, compared to the other teams who are fighting for the top 4, we have a lighter schedule in comparison. So we need to win games, guys. Because look, I know we're 11 points behind Bologna for the 4th spot, and then Roma's in 5th. I'm correct. I kind of stopped watching the league because some of the games this weekend after what happened on Friday, but. It's still mathematically possible for us to make the top 5. And we're going to have to. We really need to. And, with the schedule coming up, we really should be winning those matches, especially against Udinese, who we beat in Udine. We know they're a physical team, but it's a game we should win. However, during that game, we won't have Guendouzi or Pellegrini or Marusic. Guendouzi's suspension, I think, is a bit harsh. And I'll get into that right now because Marco Di Bello sent off 3 Lazio players on Friday. And I have to tell you that was one of the most terrible, not maybe the most, I think it might have been the most terrible refereeing performance I think I've ever seen in a match. There were questions of whether it was deliberate or not, and I have my suspicions concerning what other news came out today. As a whole, the league is not in a good spot with the referees, just objectively. The fact that we had 2 referees suspended for relatively important games, I guess you could say, being Airoldi and Di Bello. I mean, what else can be said? These referees this year have not helped Lazio out. I mean, I'll make the argument they've cost us 12 points. I would say don't excuse the not such good style of play to what we've been doing or become accustomed to this year because we haven't played up to the standards we know we're capable of. But the referees have taken away from us 12 points. And I do need to discuss about this when you need to address the issue. So what happened on Friday? Di Bello, right from the start of the game, didn't give us a penalty kick, which was a clear-cut penalty kick on Tati Castellanos. He went down the penalty area. I mean, you can say controversial or not, but if this had been another team, more than likely that penalty kick would have been given based on what was given later on in the week, particularly in the Inter match, which I'll get into that too. Tati was going on a ball because I think Florenzi misplayed the pass back to Magnan. Magnan came out, slid in. Yes, he got the ball, but if you look at the replay very closely, Magnan twisted his left shoulder in on Castellanos to block him off from making an attempt to go get the ball later on. I mean, yeah, that looks like a penalty kick. So he didn't give it. Didn't. They waved it off the VAR too, and they said just play on. That was the first one. The first real sign of all right, we need to be a little concerned. Then Di Bello blocks off Luis Alberto's 2 passes back to back within 5 seconds of each other when he was trying to give a ball to Felipe Anderson on a counterattack. He didn't even apologize. He just said, put the ball down, drop ball, and we lost the counterattack. And then later on in the game, the big flashpoint with Pulisic and Pellegrini. So this is why Di Bello was suspended for a month by the AIA because there's no excuse for this. Tati Castellanos goes up for a ball. Ismael Benacer hits him in the face and causes him to bleed, his nose to bleed, which by the letter of the law, by FIFA rules, the game must be stopped. I'm saying very emphatically because Di Bello looked at Castellanos on the floor, put his whistle to his mouth, didn't stop the play, despite being commanded to do so by his profession's laws. He didn't do it. And Pellegrini, you say, he should kick the ball out of bounds. Well, here's my defense to Pellegrini. No, he shouldn't have kicked the ball out of bounds for 2 reasons. One, because Di Bello should stop the game in the first place. It's a head injury. You must stop the game no matter what. There was no excuse. So that's the first strike. The second thing is, Milan, they didn't have much class on that game on Friday. They really didn't have much class because when Tati Castellanos or whoever was hurt in the first half, we kicked the ball out of play to address our players' injury needs, right? So it was Milan's ball, and they're supposed to throw it back to us as a drop ball, play on injury, and just get the ball back to the other team, correct? Well, they didn't do that. They gave the ball back to Teo Hernandez, and they kept on playing in the first half. So, in that predicament, you might say, Pellegrini, kick the ball out, kick the ball out, kick the ball out. No, because if he kicks the ball out in our half of the field, based on what Milan did earlier in the game by not giving the ball back because of an injury, that's not good for us. Because Pulisic could pick the ball up and quickly counterattacked. Because they didn't want to get the ball back in the first place. But again, I digress and talk about Di Bello. Marco Di Bello decided not to blow the whistle. And he gives Luca Pellegrini a second yellow card, red card. He's been sent off. In case you don't know, Di Bello has been very anti-Lazio throughout his whole entire career. It's no shock he did that. I mean, unfortunately, I can't say it's a surprise because he's been notoriously disfavorous against Lazio. I don't know if that's a word, but still, I'm going to say it anyway. Because in the past, this guy was famous for another incident with Strootman, where in the derby, Lazio, or Wallace, who was then a center back for Lazio, quote-unquote fouled Strootman, but it was a complete and total dive. Di Bello was meters away from this, and he didn't address the center referee, who was Daniele Osato at the time, to overturn the call. That's just one strike of many, and I don't want to get into all of them today, but we know he's had it in for us for whatever reason, and there's further proof of this by something he posted on Instagram later on in the week. So Di Bello sends off Pellegrini, and then I'm going to keep regressing to what happened with Marusic. He sent him off because apparently Marusic said something, but I didn't see it, and plus nothing's been reported on what Marusic said, so he gave him a direct red card and sent him off. Then Guendouzi. Well, that red card, and considering the fact he's been suspended for 2 games now, which is just absolutely absurd, if I'm being absolutely honest with you, because Pulisic grabs his shirt and almost looked like he was yanking on his hair at one point, and then Guendouzi pushed him off. He did not strike him in Pulisic in the head, and he gets a direct red card. 3 reds. Di Bello was suspended for a month after the game. The VAR referee did nothing. In fact, I think from what I could see, the linesman on the Pellegrini situation was almost laughing at us at one point. Di Bello could have robbed us of a potential spot in the Champions League, of more prize money even being the European competitions in the first place, because right now we're not even in any of them. And so he gets a month suspension, and yet he's done this many times in the past, and has done it incessantly over and over and over and over again. And a month suspension to me is not just. Because there's something he posted 2 days after the fact, where he went on Instagram, on his personal Instagram, and said, actually he didn't say it, but I'll get into it. He posted a song with a caption from his game where he was refereeing the game against Lazio Milan. And the artist is a famous Roma fan whom we, attached with the song. It's Manskin's name, and he's been very notoriously attacking Lazio, but that's another situation. However, the name of the song that Di Bello posted from that artist was Zitti e Buoni, which in Italian means shut up and behave. If you don't think there's something wrong with this guy against Lazio, then I don't know what else to tell you. He is vehemently anti-Lazio. I don't think he should be suspended for a month. I think he should be fired. Because that is disgusting. That is blatant favoritism, and there's something wrong with this guy. I'm sorry, I don't like calling people's jobs, but that's really egregious, and that's beyond the normal, what can be is acceptable. However, I have to be honest with you. I'm not shocked, because, as I have written down here, there's a bunch of things going on in Italy right now with the referees, with Gravina, the president of FIGC, who's the president of the Italian Football Federation, and with Juve, and also with the fairness, too, of favoritism towards bigger teams in the league. You're probably thinking, why are you talking about this? Well, I need to bring up a couple things, because I do have the photos of it now, or at least of the game against Napoli and Juventus. So why am I bringing up this game? Bremer should have been ejected in that game. He wasn't. And I had the picture of it right here. Just give me a second to pull it up, because, yeah, here it is. So Bremer is the last man making a tackle on Osimhen, and Osimhen was thrown goal. That's a straight red card no matter what. They didn't give it to him. Give him a yellow. Cambiasso makes another shirt-pulling tackle, if you want to call it that, on Kvaratskhelia. That should have been his second yellow. He should have been sent off. So the referees did not give 2 red cards to Juventus. We play on, but Napoli still won the game. So good for them, obviously. Because Kvaratskhelia too has not been getting much protection from the referees this year, and it's been atrocious watching what's going on. And if you didn't think that was the end of this debacle with the referees, there was another episode, and that happened against Inter and Genoa. Aroldi, the referee, who's a summer referee, by the way, so he should probably do a better job than what he did. He gave a ghost penalty kick to Inter, which ultimately won them the game, because Inter was not playing well in that match, and Genoa could have honestly won the game. What happened? Barella takes his shot. Frendrup slides in. The ball deflects off of Frendrup's foot. And Barella goes down and basically starts grabbing where part of his body, trying to get a penalty kick from the referee, and he didn't know what part of his body to grab, honestly, that he got hit by. Aroldi, the referee, gives the penalty kick. The VAR showed it. There was no penalty kick. There wasn't even a foul. Inter wins the game 2-1. I'm sorry, guys, but like this stuff has happened numerous times, and you can talk about Milan too, by the way, because Milan scored a goal of Pulisic in Genoa as well, where he handled the ball with his arm, and that was a goal. But there's been favoritism throughout the league. You can say, I'm just going to say it now. You can see there were evident cases with Roma, with Juventus, with Inter, with Milan. The four big teams were the four biggest fan bases. I have my theories on why they're getting helped, but I don't really want to get into that today. I'm looking at the time. I don't want to go over it by too much. But I digress. So you see there's a serious problem with the league. There seems to be an issue that we can't seem to get our heads around, and I'll talk about it right now. Because the president of the Figici, Gravina, is under investigation as we speak because of money laundering. And I forgot what the other thing was. Was it, I have to look up again, but I know he's in trouble from money laundering right now in his past. And it's ironic that, by the way, Marco Di Bello had that refereeing performance the same day Lotito, which I'm going to go back to Friday for a second, Lotito threatened to sue Gravina for having too much power and basically would seem like corruption. The same day Di Bello has that refereeing performance where he sends out 3 Lazio players. We know they don't get along, Gravina and Lotito, who's the president of Lazio. We know that. We understand that. To play favoritism and to try to punish the team because you got an issue with some other guy is low. Do I think it's the case? Only time will tell. Ultimately, only time will tell if that's the case. But if that is the case, this goes to show you. But again, it wouldn't be shocked because this man, before the start of the season, said on the camera, actually on the microphone, whatever, he said to the media, we must protect the brand Juventus. We must protect the brand Juventus. Tell me how that's not favoritism. The president of the Italian Football Federation came out before the season started and said we must protect the brand Juventus. I mean, guys, how can we have a serious league? How can we have a serious conversation about the teams reportedly going to the Champions League are actually legitimate? Because as we speak, Juventus is still under investigation for the money, for all the falsifying the numbers on the books. Why? Because it didn't just start in 2021, 2020. It started in 2018. For 5 years it's been going on. I'm going to say this now. I think Juventus, there's a good chance they could be suspended from all UEFA competition for 5 seasons if not careful. Because, sure, they can get away with doing certain things in Italy. We know there's a protection of Juventus. We understand that. We do understand there's a protection of the team. There always has been. The Calciopoli scandal and, with them paying off referees in the past. We understand that. We do get that. UEFA is not the Serie A. UEFA, and I know Sheffrin, who's the president of UEFA, does not have a good relation with Juventus. He might punish them. He might punish them severely. Because they are getting away with stealing money from teams because they were in the Champions League when they should not have been there. So, Lazio and Napoli lost out on earnings. And I heard Oriento De Laurentiis come out and discuss about possibly suing Juve for this, which they could because they lost earnings. They lost bonuses for not being in the Champions League when Juve essentially cheated. And it's not the end of it. So, Juve still under investigation for having done more than their fair share of falsifying the books. I mean, guys, look, at the end of the day, I know I went a bit of a rant here, but it needs to be discussed. Because we can't have a serious competition when this is going on. And the thing is, too, I'm looking at this. There were many more matches, but I'm speaking about the 4 big ones. There were 4 games where Lazio should have would have gotten 4 victories. Let's go back to the beginning of the season. Genoa. Missed penalty kick against Akani, wasn't given, and they also, if I'm correct, they scored an offside goal against us too. So that's 3 points missing because they only won by 1 goal. So we lost that game. Then Verona. What happened in Verona was absolutely atrocious. Looking at what happened in another match, which we'll get to in a second. As a matter of fact, Maresca, who was the VAR referee, who was another very questionable referee towards Lazio, overturned the goal that Nicolo Casali scored against Verona because apparently he pushed one of the defenders out the way to score the goal. and we have time the game is wrong. So basically, he should that we scored the goal, and it was overturned because there was a push. All right, if there was a foul, then let it be. The problem was a couple of weeks later, Lautaro Martinez did the exact same thing where he pushed the defender out the way against Fiorentina. He scored a goal with his head, and nothing was overturned. So, to add it up, that's 6 points we could have had. Then we go to Bologna. The other incident with Maresca. Maresca was suspended for a match, if I'm correct, because of what he did in that game. Lazio was winning. We were playing very comfortably. We were playing very well in that match. The first strike, Elia Zuzzi should have been sent off because he stepped very meanly on the top of Patrick's foot, and he's still hurt because of that. Could have broken his foot, honestly. Nothing was given by the VAR. Nothing. Should have been given a yellow. The second incident, and this is the more controversial of the two, Fabian was already on a first yellow. So Fabian steps on Ciro Immobile's foot. He was already on his yellow. He got nothing. And by the letter of the law, even his former colleagues, another referee, Cavarese, said that should have been a second yellow, should have been off. So, Bologna should have been in 10 men. They weren't. They pressed Lazio very high, and they scored the goal, and before the end of halftime, they won 2-1. Again, they should have been in 10, but that didn't happen. So then we go to Milan, and I already discussed the whole entire game. We should have got a penalty kick. We didn't get that. And we were playing better than Milan basically the majority of that game. And we almost won the game with having 10 players in the field. Then we went down to 8. We almost had a chance to score again. I mean, it just goes to show you that, yeah, but we are. And we are missing 12 points. And right now, Lazio has 40 points. If we had those 12 points, we would be... Well, we did tie against Verona. So if we had the missing 11 points, we would be tied Bologna right now with 51. Different outlook to the season. I mean, we may not be talking sorry out, change the squad, all this other stuff. But because of what happened, what can I say? We're far away from the Champions League right now. However, I do have to say this one thing. And that is, Lotito has to go after these guys very hard in the courts. Because we know this, the sporting court doesn't care. They don't care about, let's say, upholding the true rule of law necessarily. Because they're all intertwined. The referees, the FIGC, the sporting justice court. That's why we have to go out and talk to to an actual public court. And then we have to go to the EU to fully investigate what's going on. Because this is ridiculous. And the thing is, Lazio might have lost millions of dollars. Fans might have been cheated out of of ticket sales, not just tickets, of tickets in general for buying it because, no one knew this corruption. I mean, I don't want to say corruption, but it feels like that was going to happen. So there's a lot of things that need to be investigated, and basically Lotito has to hammer these guys home. He just has to, especially now that the president of FIGC, Gabriele Gravina, is under huge investigation right now, and that just shows you what the state of the league is in right now. I mean, you can't take any of this stuff seriously. And then the problem is when we play like this, in Italy, then we go to Europe, and all of a sudden we complain about not getting certain calls, and the rest of the Europeans look down upon us. Constant scandals. We can't. For some reason in Italy, we just have a problem with having the best man win. I don't know what the issue is, but it keeps happening year after year, generation after generation. It's just getting to a putrid point. As if right now. I mean, really, you just can't keep doing this. Not when there's such blatant favoritism going on. There's just no way. I mean, again, I'm pulling up this picture. That's a red card. So the fact that it wasn't, there's a lot to be said. And let's go on to the other games because I'm going to keep getting more angry about all the stuff that's happened. And I don't want to go way on, too much longer, but it's important to discuss these things because this really has affected our seasons and has affected our seasons in the past too. So right now, we need to go and just talk about all these other things. And that is, the upcoming games. So even though we're out of the Champions League right now, we don't have to play every single week. And that's important because we don't play every single week. We can rest our guys and focus on each match. And I think Lazio should go on a bit of a win streak right now. We only have the Copa and the league to focus on. Look, I know that we're far behind the rest of the guys, who are ahead of us, particularly for the fifth spot. But I do believe it's possible for us to get that fifth spot because we have a lighter schedule. I'm looking at it right now, and I do think it's possible. But we need to, not talk about all the other things about we need to change these players. Even though we'll discuss about that in a later video because we do need to freshen up the squad. It's quite evident, I think, at this point right now that some things need to get changed. But we need to focus on just winning each and every single match that comes along. And the thing is, too, we know this, when Lazio, particularly under Sarri, when we get the chances to play one game a week, we tend to do very well. Look at last season. So I do believe we're going to get a lot of points. I don't know if we get the fifth position, but we have to try. We need to. It'd be the way to vindicate the season. If we can also win the Copa too, glorious. I mean, that would be absolutely a fantastic season or way to end the season. Because then I think if we do those two things, then I will say it's a successful season overall. So, again, I'm just going to quickly discuss about the match against Udinese. I know we discussed about it kind of quickly before, but now I want to get more detail about it. Udinese, they come in, they're towards the bottom of the table. They're not exactly playing extremely well, but they're a very tough team to play against because they're physical, they hit, they run. We don't have Guendouzi in the field, we don't have Marusic, we don't have Pellegrini. And I think all three of those guys played against Udinese in the last game. They played pretty decently well from what I can remember. Good news is they're playing at home. However, if I'm going to set up my starting 11, I put Provedel in goal. Well, I know we have to put Lazio right back, Hila, Romagnoli, Hisai. In the midfield, I would have, again, Cataldi, Vecino, Luis Alberto in the front three. Depends on Zaccagni is, because he didn't look like he was moving that easily in the last game against Bayern. But if Zaccagni's healthy, Zaccagni plays, then Chiro, and then Felipe Anderson. Of course, if Isak's in a better condition, play him too. Play him instead of the two wingers. But right now, we need to focus on winning our games, getting the points, and doing our job. Because this is going to be a very uphill battle, but it's a battle I think we can win. As long as the league doesn't try to invent certain things anymore, as long as the referees don't really get in and try to what seems like almost sabotage our season, I think the fifth spot is very possible. I think it's very possible. And we need to go for it. We just need to go for it. We only have one game a week at this point. I know we're the Copa against Juventus, but essentially at the most with the Copa, we'll have 3 more games because we're playing the semi-final round now, and then we'll play the final if we make it. So essentially, there's 11 games left in the league, and then there's 3 other games in the Copa, and potentially 1 more if we make the final. So that means we have 14 matches if we win the Copa rounds and go to the final before the end of the year. I say we enjoy it because this guy's another thing too. This might be the last time we see this current guard that has been with us for so many years, giving us many moments of joy. So we need to appreciate it. We need to understand that things might not be the same going forward. So until then, let's win. Let's win our games. Let's fight on to the end. E sempre forza Lazio. Andiamo ragazzi, dai.